Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tom. I am the co-founder and CEO here at Shamiri, and I'm just really glad and really excited that all of you are tuning in today to learn about what it means to work with us here at Shamiri. So just, to get started, for today's event, we encourage you to actively participate. There are one of three ways that you can participate. There will be polls, and you can use these live polls on the chat to engage with us and also engage with other participants. There will be an opportunity to ask questions. So please feel free to use the chat to, ask any questions. Our team will be monitoring the chat, and we will answer most, if not all, of the questions that come up in the chat. The final thing is we will be sharing shortly a recording of today's webinar in case you want to share it with friends, or in case you want to revisit some of the issues that we will be talking about today. I'll be joined today by my colleagues Hilda and Rahim. They'll get to introduce themselves at some point when they'll be kind of sharing various aspects of the work they're doing, as well as of the organization from a culture and HR and recruitment perspective. But once again, we're really excited to have all of you in here today, and we'll just dive right into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is just going to present a very high-level introduction to who we are as an organization. So basically, what we do, how we are structured, and what our culture is. And the hope is this will then, lay the foundation for us to then, start talking more concretely about some of the openings that we have and our HR and recruitment process, looks like, more concretely. So once again, if you have any questions as we are doing this, please feel free to post them on the chat. There are members of our team who are actively monitoring this, and we will endeavor to answer all of these questions. So we'll begin by presenting an overview of who we are as a company and the work that we are doing. One in two Kenyan adolescents struggles with either depression or anxiety. And unfortunately, for most of this, young people, help is often not accessible or affordable because of a few different reasons. So one of these reasons is, of course, the stigma around mental health that prevents people from seeking out for help. The second is the cost of traditional care. So traditional therapy tends to be pretty expensive. And the third issue is the issue around the scarcity of caregivers around mental health. And so at Shamiri, we believe that if we can solve these two problems of access and affordability, we can be able to, make mental health accessible for all. So relying on over $3 million and 4 years of our own research and development, along with decades of mental health research, we believe that there are three very simple ideas that can help people thrive. So Shamiri means thrive, and when we're trying to get people to thrive. And there's three ideas that we think can make mental health accessible and affordable and allow young people to thrive are that one, people without a formal mental health background can be trained to deliver effective therapy. The second idea is that brief and simple interventions can be effective for youth mental health. And the third idea is that we can be able to leverage the existing human resources to expand the pool of caregivers and allow for some form of triaging that ensures that no one is left behind. So when we combine these three ideas, we come up with the Shamiri model, and we call it tiered lay psychotherapy. And so how it works is that we train high school graduates, and we call them lay providers, to deliver effective group therapy. The type of therapy that they deliver, we call it low-touch therapy. Basically, what we mean by low-touch therapy is that this is a type of therapy that is brief, is simple, and it trains young people on simple topics such as developing a growth mindset, practicing gratitude, problem solving, and fostering a sense of purpose. And the third is that we use this thing that we call tiered caregiving. What we mean by tiered caregiving is that we have a model where our lay providers are supported by low-cost caregivers such as counselors, social workers, etc., and they can then be able to escalate issues to the third tier of care, which includes the limited number of psychologists and psychiatrists that we have. So how the model works is, at the base of our model, we have this idea of low-touch therapy that is delivered by high school graduates. These high school graduates are supported by low-cost caregivers such as community counselors, social workers, etc. And then finally, we escalate to the third tier, which are the few clinical experts like psychologists and psychiatrists that we have in the country. So at a high level, that is the idea and the model behind Shamiri. So as of now, we have, as an organization, served 34,000 youths in just 3 years, this is since 2021, including serving slightly more than 27,000 youths this year. And we're really proud of this because this makes us the largest youth mental health provider by volume in Africa. And we've been able to do this in only 2.5 years of full-time operation in Kenya, and we're really proud of this achievement. But we don't want to stop here. Where we want to be is we want to serve 1 million youths in 2027, and because of that, we are embarking on this very ambitious kind of growth phase for us as an organization. And obviously, to be able to embark on this very ambitious growth phase for us as an organization, we need to be able to attract and maintain, top tier talent such as yourselves. And so we're really excited that you're here today to, learn more about the organization and learn more about how you can be involved with us in this process of, scaling to serve 1 million youths in 2027. Just some high-level facts about Shamiri. So we were founded in April 2019 at Harvard University. We launched formally in Kenya in May of 2021, so we're only slightly more than 2 years old in Kenya. And we have we've really put together a strong, formidable team of directors, of advisors. We include some of the leading experts in very diverse fields, from around the world, and we partner with leading international and national organizations. And so we believe that this gives us the backbone to be able to embark on this super ambitious growth phase and growth strategy. So switching gears a little bit, one question we get asked a lot is, what do we see as the quote unquote end goal for Shamiri? What is our high level long-term vision? And our vision is a world where young people, and for us young people are the core of our mission, can be able to actualize life outcomes and can be able to access affordable and personalized mental health care. And to do that, we believe that we have to emerge to be, kind of like the largest mental health provider for young people in the world. And we think that is a very possible goal. We think our model can be and is a template that can be replicated in other countries around the world. And we think that the work that we're going to do in Kenya will show that this model can work, is cost effective, and can be scaled. So before I hand over to my colleagues, I just want to talk briefly about how our organization is structured and the culture. So at Shamiri, we structure our organization in a portfolio manner. And so what this means is that we have semi-autonomous teams or units within Shamiri, which are aligned but operate nearly autonomously. And so these teams, kind of one way of thinking about them is highlighted in this diagram, where we have a core team that supports basically all the other teams. And then we have all of the 6 different teams, which are, as I said, aligned, but operate, almost autonomously. And the first team, which is, maybe one of the most important teams for us, is our core operations team. So we call it Shamiri Core. And the work of Shamiri Core pretty much is to, ensure that the work of Shamiri Core is to ensure that we have the infrastructures and systems that are robust enough to allow us to scale, because, in order to be able to scale, we have to have the infrastructure and systems that, can support that. And that is the work of the core team. And so some of the roles within this team include finance, procurement, human resources, supply chain management, administration, etc. So if you think about all of those like core functionalities that you need to run the organization, that is, done within the Shamiri core team. The second team, and the team which is, pretty much at the crux of our service delivery is the Shamiri Deliver team. And then the work of the Shamiri Deliver team is to implement our interventions effectively and efficiently, providing crucial psychosocial support and, developing and implementing evidence-based, intervention protocols. And so if you think about this team, some of the key roles here include, the clinical work, obviously, program management, delivery, etc. And we generally divide this team into 2 arms. So we have a deliver and recruit team. And the work of the deliver and recruit team is to, as is obvious in the name, to deliver, our programs, as well as to recruit the various partners that we need to make this happen. And obviously the work of the clinical team is to basically provide the mental health services through each of the elements of our 3-tier model, that I talked about. The next team is the Shamiri Innovate team, and this is the creative powerhouse behind what we do. So the work of this team is to ensure that we stay ahead of the trends in mental health research, that we conduct, research and development projects, and we implement, innovative solutions. And so most of the work around like R&D, research, innovation, happens within this team. And this team is also split into 2 teams. So the first of this is the research and evidence team. And this team handles all of the research management work, from study design, ethical approval, data collection, cleaning, manuscript development, etc. And then we have our innovations and insights team, which focuses on, real-time monitoring and evaluation, real-time learning, and also just pioneering, new research efforts that, keep us a leader in this mental health space. Our 4th team is the Shamiri Train team, and the responsibility for this team is to ensure that we train and develop the next generation of mental health professionals. And so here we have some roles around like training development, educational expertise, mentoring and coaching, pedagogy, etc. And that, kind of like falls within this team. And this team will be launching early next year, which we're really excited about. We'll be launching the Shamiri Academy to basically bring the world-class training that we have in-house to be accessible to as many people as possible. So that is the work of the Shamiri Train team. And the last 3 teams are the Communicate team, which is in charge of managing our public image and raising awareness about mental health issues. The Engage team, which is in charge of connecting with diverse stakeholders, including government stakeholders, and managing this, kind of partnerships. So this team plays a very crucial role in community engagement, understanding the policy landscape, and in, basically collaborating with other organizations and expanding our network. And finally, we have the Shamiri Sustain team, which ensures the organization's sustainability through revenue generation, financial management, and fundraising. And together, the 7 teams form, the core of Shamiri. And as I mentioned earlier, all of these teams, work semi-autonomously, actually really autonomously, but we align a lot when it comes to goals, strategy, etc. And so if you are joining Shamiri, you will be joining one of these 7 teams. So finally, for me, then I'll hand over to Rahim and Ilda. I just want to spend some, moments to talk about the Shamiri culture. And so we have this idea at Shamiri that we call the Shamiri Way. And the Shamiri Way basically describes the 6 pillars of our culture. And at a high level, and I'll just also double click on each of these, at a high level, the 6 pillars of the Shamiri culture are that values lead the way, or that we are a high performance team, or that we believe in autonomy, or that we are goal aligned, we focus on context, and we reward, develop, and promote internally as much as possible. So the first around values and values leading the way, basically for us as Shamiri, values is very crucial to us. And the reason why this is the case is because the science of values, which also inspires some of the interventions that we do, points out that values can be a powerful force to guide our actions and to help us in difficult times. And so as an organization, values allow us to be able to reflect on self-defining aspects of us as an organization, and to make decisions based on those self-defining aspects. And so at Shamiri, we have 8 values, of which 2 core values are called the quote-unquote immutables. And these values are that, one, we are a data-driven organization, so we are committed to rigorous and cutting-edge scientific research, but we do that in a manner that honors and amplifies the social cultural realities and complexities of the communities that we work in. And we think being data-driven allows us to be effective, makes us relevant, and sets us apart from other organizations. The second is that we are a grassroots organization. So what we mean by this is that we are working for young people. We believe that those who are closest to the problem are close to the solution. And so we are committed to an approach that allows us to amplify and uplift the voices of the communities that we work with. These first 2 values, being data-driven and being a grassroots organization, are the quote-unquote immutable values, which are always going to be at the core of our organization. The 6 other values are that we are growth-minded. So a growth mindset is at the heart of our organization. And the reason for this is that we aspire more for ourselves and for our organization. We value passion, we value work ethic, and we value a commitment to realizing one's potential through skill development. And so what this means for all of you is that we offer a lot of opportunities to learn and to make mistakes and to grow, because we believe that there is no organizational growth without personal growth. 4th value is that we are nimble. So we adapt our processes and our structures to new information and evolving priorities. We expect everyone in the organization to be really nimble, and this means that we expect everyone to be willing and to be capable of taking on additional and unforeseen tasks and responsibilities. And we believe that we are not defined by our roles, we are not defined by our titles, we are not defined by our job descriptions. And it's at the core of this value is the idea that all of us should be able to make a cup of coffee. The 5th value is this idea of clarity and transparency. And this mostly applies from the organizational leadership perspective. And so decision-making processes are, to the extent possible, explicit and transparent. And our shared values, strategies, and goals are clearly defined and communicated for all of us. We collaborate because we need to learn from each other and with each other to be able to support each other's growth. But our take on collaboration is that collaboration can only begin when we take individual ownership of our own roles and actively seek the contribution and input of others. We work hard. We are all committed to working hard for ourselves, for our team, and for the communities that we serve, to be able to shape the future, to realize these very ambitious goals that we have. We realize that we must work hard. and we embrace fun. So that is the first pillar, values lead the way. The second pillar is that we are a high performance team. So what we mean by this is we want to create a high performance culture where everyone is driven to attain the highest level of success and excellence. We want to create a workplace where all of us can respect each other, learn from each other, and grow from each other. And because of this, we are very meticulous in our recruitment process, as you're going to learn, because we are trying to get people who can fit with this high performance culture. We try in the recruitment process. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes we miss people, sometimes we don't. So we are always learning. But for us, it's very important that we create a high performance culture that is driven to attaining the highest level of success and excellence. So the way this culture is practiced is that at Shamiri, we don't believe that good enough is good enough. Good enough or being average or just being inadequate work does not fly at Shamiri. We commit ourselves to doing the best possible work that we can do. We think of ourselves as a sports team. So to use a football analogy, we want to build a team that can play in the Champions League and not the Europa League or the UEFA Conference League. And so because of that, we have to try to recruit people who are at the Champions League level, or people who we can train to be able to get into the Champions League level, and who can also be able to perform at that, kind of like Champions League level. The third pillar is this idea that Shamirians are autonomous. So what we mean by this is we think that each individual has ownership over their own work. And because of this, we give people a lot of autonomy. So often there are no manuals or no guidelines. When you're given a task, you're expected to figure it out. And we believe that in great teams and in great cultures, people work best when they have the freedom and the autonomy to do their work. The fourth pillar is this idea of goal alignment. So the reason why we believe in autonomy, and the reason why we also have this semi-autonomous teams within Shamiri, and the reason why we're able to execute them so perfectly is because we are highly aligned on what the strategy and what the goals are for the organization. But we allow people the freedom to be able to execute independently as teams and as individuals. We focus on context and not on controlling people. So what we mean by this is the best way to get all of you to lead to great outcomes is by making you aware of the appropriate context. So that is the why we're doing something, rather than telling you what to do. So we focus on telling you why we are doing something or why we want you to do something, but we don't tell you what to do. So through this context, everyone learns about what the strategy is, what the metrics are, what assumptions are, etc. But then we give you the freedom to be able to then execute how you want. And finally, a big pillar of our work is our commitment to reward, develop, and promote. And so as an organization, I think just for the sake of transparency, for every role, our first priority is always to see if we can recruit internally, because we want to one, provide a pathway for all Shamirians to be able to grow. And second, we think that we demand so much from people that we need to reward, develop, and promote them. The develop part is pretty self-explanatory. So what this means is just giving people opportunities to develop themselves by working with high-performance colleagues, tackling on challenges, doing professional development, etc. And together, these 6 pillars allow us to, build this thing that we are really proud of, and that which we call, the Shamiri culture. And so finally, and then I'll hand over to Rahim and Ilda, we really treat recruitment like matchmaking. So we want someone who fits both from a competency perspective, being able to do the actual job in the job description, but also from a culture perspective, because if one of these two things are not aligned, then often it's not a good match. So if you find someone who's really competent but doesn't fit within the culture, then we have realized they end up having a really, not the best experience at Shamiri, and also vice versa, right? And so the reason why we take this approach to recruitment, and we really, doing this webinar, and for those of you who will be proceeding with a recruitment process, we'll invite you to spend some time with us at our offices, is to also give you a chance to experience the culture for yourself. You are giving us a chance to experience your competency, as you're doing the test that we're sending you, as you're engaging with the recruitment process. And so we also want to give you a chance to experience the culture so that you figure out if this is the right place for you for your next step in your career. Over to you, Rahim.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rahim. I'm the Chief of Staff at Shamiri. Just give me 1 second. I'll share my screen. Cool. So I'll briefly walk you through the recruitment process that we have at Shamiri that Tom has kind of alluded to. So some of you who will have already submitted your application through our official platform, which is called Jazz HR, and all our current openings are posted on our website for you to access in case you haven't already applied to a role. So once you've applied, you will be sent a link to undertake some standardized testing. And this testing is tailored for each role that we have at Shamiri. So for example, one of the roles that we currently are recruiting for is a Director of Government Relations. And so the testing for that role is specific to that role. It will look a lot differently. It will look a lot different from the testing for other roles that we're recruiting for at present. Thereafter, those who meet a certain benchmark in our standardized testing will be notified and invited to complete a take-home task. So again, this will vary on the position that you're applying for, but might look like a written report or compilation of slides outlining a certain topic that we ask you to look into. Thereafter, candidates who get to the next stage are invited for a phone interview. So it's likely that myself, Hilda, or Tom will be on those phone interviews, as well as your direct line manager, so that we can get a better understanding of who you are, what your qualifications are, and what kind of excites you about the role at Shamiri. And our final round of the interview process is a super day. So for those of you who don't know, a super day is a final round of interviewing where 3 to 5 candidates for a role are invited to our offices in Kilimani and spend half a day with us, going through case interviews as well as culture interviews, so that we can have a holistic understanding of who you are, how you analyze and approach challenges and questions that you might expect to face whilst at Shamiri. Thereafter, you'll be sent, successful candidates will be sent an offer letter. We'll do a background check, and formal contracting will take place. So our current open positions, I'll briefly run through these just because most of the information can be found on our website or our recruitment page. We've got 2 director level positions, government relations and comms, 2 senior associate positions, one around research and evidence, the second around service delivery. So I think Tom has run through what each of those teams does. An associate position, insights and innovations, particularly excited about this new team and how they'll help us to drive efficiency and help us being at the cutting edge of mental health in Kenya. and then 4 intern positions. So just because I saw a couple of questions on intern positions in the chat, to clarify, interns are hired for an initial 3 months, and thereafter we make a decision about whether to extend their contract for a further 3 months. So those are our current open positions right now, and I'll hand over to Hilda to talk a little bit about employee wellness and benefits at Shamiri.
Great. Thanks, Rahim. Give me just a second to show my slides. As I do that, again, my name is Hilda at Shamiri. I'm in charge of operations. And basically my role is to ensure that all the systems that we have in place support our staff and ensure that all the teams function in a seamless manner. Right. Give me just a second. Sorry, guys.
Hilda, do you want me to share my screen instead?
Yeah, if you can, I think my screen froze. Just great, thanks. Thanks, Rahim. So I'm going to just talk about our employee benefits. One, we provide medical insurance to all members of staff and their dependents. Currently, we provide medical insurance for the principal holder, and that's the full-time member of staff, plus 1 dependent, 2 dependents, sorry. Secondly, we provide paid annual leave, and this is a statutory requirement, and this stands at 21 annual leave days for all members of staff, as well as sick days or off days for that matter. Once a week, on Wednesdays, we work from home, and this is just to enable guys to take a short break from the long commutes. I'm pretty sure you all understand how crazy it can be with traffic in Nairobi, but also just to allow guys to have focused time on deliverables. Every other Thursday, we host what we call happy hours. And interestingly, today is one of those days. So our members of staff are downstairs having a good old time. And really, the happy hour time is just to provide staff with a relaxed space, time to just unwind and kick it and talk about other stuff outside of regular work. Once every month, for all the teams that Tom talked about earlier, staff will have an out-of-office social, our team lunches, where guys can either go for bowling, go watch a movie, go have lunch or breakfast, and just have time to bond as team members. And these are team-specific activities. And then once every month, everyone at Shamiri will get together for an out-of-office exciting activity. And we do have what we call the wellness calendar, which we share across the organization so that people can clear their calendars for whether it's team-specific activities or monthly socials. And that's just briefly what we provide in terms of employee wellness. Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think in the interest of time, we're going to move to Q&A so that all of you who have been posting your questions in the chat, we can have a chance to start answering those questions. So I'm just waiting for my, I'll just start scrolling through the chat and see if I can see some questions. Does your standardized testing capture all the strengths of a candidate? No, not completely. That's obviously the issue with standardized testing. We can't get a holistic picture of you, but it does help us to, as a screening tool, and it helps us to understand if you have some of the skills needed for that specific role. But because it doesn't give us a holistic picture, we invite candidates to do a take-home task after the standardized testing, as well as to come in for the super day. We really want to build a holistic picture of candidates before making the decision on whether or not to hire them.
Yeah.
I
have another question here.
Yeah,
Rahim.
go for it.
One is, all right, so I don't know the name, so I hope that's okay if I don't call out the name. So what do you see this institute in future being able to advocate mental health awareness to be included in the education system and be encompassed as a fully running program in schools in Kenya? Yes, we do see that. And one of the ways that we are currently doing that is partnering with the Ministry of Education to hopefully in the very, very near future become the official partner providing mental health services in schools. And we have worked with the Ministry of Education for, I think, about 1.5 years now, where they come and run monitoring and evaluation exercises for where we have conducted the mental health programs that we have done in Nairobi, Kiambu, Machakos, Makueni, etc. So one of the very ambitious goals that we have is that we want mental health services, especially programs such as the ones we run at Shamiri, become entrenched in the education system, because our research has shown that indeed these interventions do work and they show very positive results in terms of academic performance and just the general wellness or well-being of students. So yes, the short of the long answer is yes.
So just as a kind of disclaimer, we're not going to get to all of these questions. If you have further questions, feel free to email team@shamiri.institute. Some quick questions I'll just run through. When will the results of assessment tests be available to us? So we don't actually share the scores of assessments. We just notify those who have reached our benchmark, whether they're moving to the next stage or not. If you would like your scores, please do reach out to team@Shamiri and we will email you a breakdown of your scores. How long does the recruitment process take? It depends and it varies. Depends on how many applications we receive for each role, how much resource we have to kind of go through applications and screen them, as well as kind of aligning timelines for when candidates are available for interviews and super days. But we expect the process from start to finish to take no longer than 6 weeks before we're sending out offer letters. Around fundraising and revenue generations, are these roles open for expats or just local workforce? So expats are welcome to apply, but obviously we have a preference for Kenyans for all the roles that we're recruiting for at present. A question here, could you provide insight on how you support employees that have mental health challenges? So I think Hilda ran through some of the wellness activities that we have at Shamiri, but alongside that, through our health insurance offering, one is able to access psychological support if they need it, from counseling to one-on-one counseling to group sessions. We do our best to make sure that employees are supported and with their mental health. Is Shamiri working with the Ministry of Health? No, not at present. We're working with the Ministry of Education because we deliver our interventions in schools, but it is our hope to expand our work with government to work closely with the Ministry of Health as well. For the youth that we target, is there an age bracket? So we work with youths that are attending high schools. So these predominantly are aged 13 to 19, but some students start a bit earlier, some finish a bit later. So we do work with students from ages about 13 to about 21. Do interns need experience when applying? So no, interns don't necessarily need an abundance of experience. We hope that their time here gives them a chance to get some experience and kind of get an understanding of what they enjoy about working at a non-profit, whether that's research or service delivery. So no, they don't require an abundance of experience, but they do require either an undergraduate degree or being an undergraduate student about to complete their studies.
There's a
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there's a question from someone who's asking, how do you make sure that the therapy provided by non-medical professionals is doing good and is up to industry standards? So I think Tom talked earlier about our 3-tier model. And at the bottom of the model, or the triangle, if you like, the people we call lay providers. So these are people with absolutely no experience in mental health, young people, usually between the ages of 18 to 24, 25. And at the second tier, our clinical supervisors with a background in psychology or counseling, and at the topmost of the triangle is the clinical experts network. And so the fellows or the lay providers will be taken through a very thorough and extensive training program where they are taught and they learn how to deliver this intervention under the supervision of the clinical supervisors, and ultimately at the top tier, the clinical experts who are at PhD level, psychologists who have been trained extensively, or psychiatrists. So through that model of a very close working relationship and supervision, we ensure that the lay providers are actually providing quality standard interventions, which are very clear in our training protocols.
Question here on whether one can get work as an intern at Shamiri on unpaid terms just to get experience, and whether universities are eligible either part-time or full-time. So no, we don't offer unpaid internships because the reason why we don't do that is because it would kind of bloat our employee count and wouldn't be a good experience for the unpaid intern because of how little attention we'll be able to pay to them, as well as it being a constraint on us. So we want to give interns as great as an experience as we can, and therefore we only hire a select number of interns. But for university students, I encourage you to look at our recruitment page in the coming months for when we're recruiting for fellows who are lay providers that deliver our interventions in high schools. University students are welcome to apply for those roles. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through the questions. You said you have very high expectations of your staff and you're a high-performing team. How do you ensure that your staff mental health is also a priority? So I think we've addressed kind of what the wellness package looks like at Shamiri. We have weekly happy hours. We have out of office socials. So I think this month we're going to, as a team, go play mini golf. Next month we're going to the cinema together. So we try to make sure that we, as an organization and as individual teams within the organization, do find time to socialize and hang out outside of work, because we do believe in the, as is you've seen in our values, whilst we are a high performing team, we also embrace having fun and having a work hard, play hard culture.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback on Rahim's answer as well. So in our HR and leave taking system, we also encourage team leads or managers to keep tabs on their team members taking days off work, so that at a certain point when one has accumulated or has reached a threshold where we feel they're accumulating too many leave days, meaning they're either working overtime or they're just generally not taking a break, then staff will get alerts that it's time to start planning for annual leave. So we try as much as possible to discourage an accumulation of like the full 21 leave days having not been utilized across or throughout the year.
So I'll take one more question and then I'll hand over to Hilda. But I just wanted to say thank you everyone for joining today. We're really excited that we have hundreds of you on this webinar and are interested in roles at Shamiri. Really exciting for us to see that there's so much interest, and thank you for engaging with us and sending through all these questions. So the last question I'll take before I hand over to Hilda is, do you test the viability of a candidate assessment and CV side by side? So we usually look at the assessments before we look at things like the cover letter and CV, because we want to make sure that you have some of the baseline skills that are necessary for the role before we start to look at your accomplishments before your application and your cover letter about your passion for joining the role. So we usually look at assessments and then we look at CVs and cover letters. And so I think in that cycle that I shared when I was sharing my screen, that's kind of laid out there. So thank you everyone, and I'll hand over to Hilda, who will take you through the rest of the webinar.
Thanks, Rahim. I think I may be paraphrasing this question. I'm trying to scroll through to look for it, but I think somebody asked, what do I stand to benefit by participating in this webinar, or how does it help me? And the essence of conducting this webinars is so that we also are in a position to share with interested applicants or people who are interested in the work that Shamiri does, to get an overview of what the team looks like, what it's like to work at Shamiri, just in a nutshell, really, because there's only so much that you can be able to get from a webinar. But really also during the interview processes, one of the things that we usually talk about with potential employees is the fact that we are providing a platform where you are also gauging whether working at Shamiri is something that you would be interested in. And so I hope that this paints a picture or gives a brief overview of what Shamiri is beyond what you see on our socials or on our official pages or our websites, etc. Do you consider someone who has graduated more than 4 years ago for internship? Yes, we do. We do not discriminate. And really, you'll realize that whenever we post job openings for internships, we are not necessarily explicit about you being, a 2-year-old graduate or 3-year-old graduate. Sometimes we might be explicit in terms of we are looking for young, enthusiastic people in XYZ. And so, yes, we do not discriminate even if you graduated 4 years ago. I think we are bang on the clock. It's 5 o'clock. I don't know if we have one more question. Yeah, I don't think I'm missing any other questions. And because we are at 5 o'clock, I also don't want to take too much of everyone else's time. But as shared earlier, we will be recording this webinar and sharing this information. Please feel free to reach out to us. Yes, there's a question. I was hanging in there for one last question. How many people do you need for each role advertised? In terms of filling the positions, we're looking for between 1 to 3 for the internship openings, but for the other positions like Director of Communications and the other associate roles, we are obviously looking for 1 candidate for each of these roles. Okay. All right. I think we are maxed out on all the questions. So thank you very much, everyone, for making time to join today's webinar. We'll be sharing our contact details. Follow us on Twitter at Shamiri Team. We are on Instagram at Shamiri_Institute. And on LinkedIn, we are on there as Shamiri Institute. And obviously our website is www.shamiri.institute. Thank you all very much for joining today's webinar, and we look forward to engaging with you in our platforms and when you reach out to us. Have a lovely evening, guys. Bye.